Folks, there's been some very interesting theories going around over the past few years that I'm going to discuss in this video. Namely, being that the influence of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell may well have gone far beyond politics, finance, and the world of business, and actually to the point where there's rumors that Ghislaine and Jeffrey were actually secretly able to control, manipulate, pull strings at some of the biggest and most influential social media companies in the deep depths of the internet. Specifically, I'm talking about 4chan and Reddit. Now, as far as Reddit goes, a lot of people wouldn't believe me when I told them that Ghislaine Maxwell was actually one of, if not the most prolific user and moderator of Reddit for many of the years while she was out here in these streets causing untold destruction to young women. And Jeffrey Epstein, he had connections with the founders of 4chan from its very inception, and it is possible that Ghislaine and Jeffrey were actually using these connections and this control to basically continue running, maintaining, and protecting their sordid enterprise of trafficking. So what I want to do is show you a few really interesting articles and posts from around the internet to basically make you understand just how much secret control Ghislaine and Jeffrey were actually having over some of the most powerful social media messaging boards in the world. This says Epstein met with 4chan's founder just as the infamous political thread begun. Newly released Epstein emails offer clues to meetings with the founder of 4chan, the site known as a hub for far-right propaganda and QAnon conspiracy theories. Now, 4chan is definitely a dungeon of debauchery and very, let's say off-color humor. But sometimes I do feel like they mischaracterize 4chan as these like dangerous, like far-reaching, far-right, hyper-political forums, when a lot of people on there are just trolling. They are people with dark senses of humor, but there is a lot of dark stuff on there, so let's take it seriously. But this article's kind of break down the 4chan connection. It says, as I examine Jeffrey Epstein's ties to far-right politics, one of the more intriguing threads to emerge from the recently released files places him in the orbit of 4chan's founder at a fateful moment years before the platform helped give rise to QAnon conspiracy theories. Could the notorious child predator have had any influence on the platform that gave rise to a whole mythology centered on outlandish claims about sexual perversion among elites? In October 2011, years after Epstein pleaded guilty to sexual misconduct with a minor, an advisor to Bill Gates named Boris Nikolic emailed Epstein about wanting to introduce him to a cool guy. The message included a link to the Wikipedia page for 4chan founder Christopher Poole, who also goes by Moot, and Poole oversaw the platform until 2015. 4 days later, Epstein responded to Nikolic about his meeting with Poole to say, I liked Moot a lot. I drove him home. He's very bright. The timing of the introduction is interesting. That same month that Nikolic introduced Epstein to Poole, 4chan launched a politically oriented forum called /Poll, which became popular with right-wing extremists. The site eventually became a cesspool of far-right extremism, violent rhetoric, and propaganda that incubated the pro-Trump conspiracy theory known as QAnon. 4 days after Epstein met with Poole, Nikolic emailed Epstein again with a comment on 4chan's potential. This article describes why I find Moot interesting. The potential for manipulation is huge. There it is in black and white, what he was doing. And it's not just 4chan. Nikolic wrote, linking a Washington Post article that discussed how 4chan had been used to foment bigotry, launch cyber attacks, and fuel a hive mind mentality. Poole name appears in Epstein emails later as well, including the next month, when Poole coordinates with one of Epstein's subordinates about meeting up in New York. Chris, Jeffrey has also said, feel free to bring anyone you think is clever, the email reads. Poole responds, great, I'll think of some people and get back to you. Poole's correspondence with Epstein, or at least what's currently available in the files, does not appear to extend past the following February. MS Now's efforts to reach Poole for comment were not successful. MS Now is reviewing the documents released by the Justice Department in collaboration with journalists from NBC, AP, CNBC, and CBS. Journalists from each newsroom work together to examine the documents and share information about what is in them, each outlet responsible for its own independent news coverage of the documents. Anyway, all right. So while Epstein allegedly, all right, handled the right-wing side of online political discourse, if you believe these articles, 4chan, okay, one theory suggests that Ghislaine Maxwell was secretly steering the left-wing political commentary over on the front page of Reddit. Now, this is Ghislaine Maxwell's account. I'm revealing it to you now. Okay, this is her account, Maxwell Hill. She has 15 million karma, 33,000 contributions, and her Reddit account is 20 years old. That's probably disappointing to Jeffrey Epstein if he was still alive and not in a spliff in hell. But, okay, she had a lot of posts on here. Mysteriously stopped posting once she got outed and arrested. Okay, she's posting things in politics, technology, and bear in mind some of these pages, they're hard to get your posts off the ground. It's hard to get some posts. You know what it's like on Reddit. You go and post something on a subreddit, you think people will find it interesting. No, against the rules, self-promotion, not allowed to promote this, not allowed to talk about this. They heavily censor what you're allowed to talk about on these subreddits. You're only seeing what makes it to Reddit. You're not seeing the things that are being removed, moderated, basically steering you down a certain political inclination. She's posting about people mysteriously sending Bitcoin, legal weed being announced, New York Times cutting off Apple News, political posts about Kavanaugh shouldn't be trusted, all right? A massive star has vanished from space with no explanation. She was prolific for years and years and years and years and years. Political stuff. Twitch suspends Trump account for violating hateful conduct rules. Now, these are normal pieces of news, but what is it that she had going on that she was putting in so much work on Reddit, okay? And we could even see what her most popular post of all time is. And it's about Trump. Churchill's grandson slams Trump for skipping cemetery visit because of weather. They died with their face to the foe, and that pathetic, inadequate, real Donald Trump couldn't even defy the weather to pay his respects to the fallen, right? Internet defenders urge mass revolt to fight the FCC scorched earth. All of her most popular posts are extremely political, okay? They're extremely political. Oh, what's this? Bill Gates. You know about Bill Gates. You've met Bill Gates, right, Ghislaine? Right? Bill Gates, the world's second richest person behind Bezos, wants rich people to pay higher taxes. She is prolific on this forum, okay, or on this site, leaving comments all the way up till 6 years. The last comment she made, treason trends after bombshell story claiming Trump knew Putin had bounty on US troops and Ron Johnson. She is out here putting a lot of information, a lot of rubber to the road, let's say, okay? So to understand how this connection was actually made, we have to go all the way back to 2003, when Vanity Fair actually published a highly favorable puff piece about Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. What? Vanity Fair? You have some questions to answer for. You have to answer. The talented Mr. Epstein, Vanity Fair, can you care to explain yourself? Says, lately Jeffrey Epstein's high-flying style has been drawing oohs and ahs, that's for sure. The bachelor financier lives in New York's largest private residence, claims to only take billionaires as clients, and fly celebrities including Bill Clinton. Thought you weren't friends. And Kevin Spacey on his Boeing 727. But pierce his air of mystery and the picture changes. Vicky Ward explores Epstein's investment career, his ties to retail magnate Leslie Wexner, and his complicated past, okay? All this positive press he was getting. It's very, very interesting, all right? Now, years later in 2020, that's when it would be exposed just how much editorial power and influence Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell secretly held over Vanity Fair and its parent company, Condé Nast. They were pulling strings behind the scenes, okay? This is an article in the New Yorker. Why didn't Vanity Fair break the Jeffrey Epstein story? The former editor Graydon Carter and a journalist Vicky Ward give conflicting accounts of why the magazine didn't publish the essay abuse allegations in 2003. Bit of a whitewash, isn't it? Bit of a control the media type thing going on. Ghislaine Maxwell is arguably the most hated woman in the world, and I knew her. So begins Vicky Ward's podcast, Chasing Ghislaine, which launched on Audible this past summer as Maxwell prepared to stand trial in New York City on trafficking charges. Ward, a British-born journalist who is hosting and co-producing a Discovery Plus documentary about Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, describes her experiences covering the pair for almost 2 decades. Ward also promises to reveal what happened in 2002 when, while working as a contributing editor at Vanity Fair, she interviewed 2 sisters who they said had been abused by Epstein and Maxwell, but was unable to publish their stories. I'm going to tell you why those claims never made it to print. One big reason, Jeffrey Epstein. Pulling the strings. Absolute disgrace. In her podcast, Ward claims that she was determined to expose Epstein as an abuser and had the necessary evidence, but Epstein convinced Vanity Fair's editor Graydon Carter not to publish the sisters' account. Vanity Fair, like the New Yorker, is owned by Condé Nast. First, Ward says, Epstein threatened her, telling her, I have reports here about you and your husband. I have everything under the sun that was sent to me by people who want to be helpful. Despite this and other menacing remarks, Ward recounts, I still thought that I was going to win. I really thought that I could expose Jeffrey Epstein. But according to Ward, Epstein and Carter were talking to each other sort of behind the scenes. Epstein and Carter spoke on the phone, and shortly after Ward filed a draft, they met at Vanity Fair's office. Eventually, Ward says an editor informed her that Carter decided not to include the sisters' allegations in the story. I must have gone into the office because I do remember being there and just crying. They had been so brave, and I just let them down. Very, very sad state of affairs. Now, the reason this matters is very complicated because in 2007, that exact same parent company actually purchased Reddit. Wired Digital buys Reddit.
What do we mean when we say that a Wuthering Heights...
Let's get rid of that. Condé Nast Wired Digital has bought the online news aggregator Reddit for an undisclosed sum, the publisher said Tuesday. Wired Digital, based in San Francisco, will add Reddit to its stable of online properties, which includes Wired Magazine and Wired News. Reddit's four founders, Steve Huffman, Alexis Ohanian, Aaron Schwartz, and Chris Lowe will relocate from Boston to Wired Digital's San Francisco headquarters. Our goal will be to build Reddit as an independent company by collaborating with Wired through the integration of its core technology and by offering partnerships that allow other companies to do the same, Korish Karim Khani, general manager of Wired Digital, said in a statement. The deal comes nearly 3 months after Condé Nast acquired Wired News, thus reuniting the print and online brands. Condé Nast also had a sneak preview of Reddit technology before a Tuesday acquisition. The publisher used Reddit to launch lipstick.com, a news filtering site for celebrity gossip. Now, this is genius because as these news publications become more and more irrelevant, people aren't paying for these stupid subscriptions to news companies. News is free. It just is everywhere. If you don't want to let me look at your site without a paywall, I'll look at the information somewhere else. You don't have a monopoly on the news. But what they do have a monopoly on Reddit is what sites are allowed to link out of Reddit. They might not let you post certain links to certain subreddits. Ghislaine Maxwell might take down your post if it's from a certain publication that they don't like. And it all connects to how Wired Digital and Condé Nast had actually purchased Reddit, and they basically, as they said themselves, they used it to launch a news filtering site. They're using it to launch these sites. Literally. It's not a secret. So in the years that followed, the account Maxwell Hill, Ghislaine's account, became the first user in Reddit history to hit 1 million karma, basically Reddit likes. That's what the karma is, okay? And this is a whole article about her, all right? I don't think they knew who she was at this point, okay? But now we know, all right? The story of the most successful man/woman on Reddit. Woman, all right? This is crazy. A couple of weeks ago, Matt Honan wrote about the most viral people on the internet. At the top of that list was Maxwell Hill, Ghislaine Maxwell, the first and only user on Reddit to achieve the 1 million mark of karma points. Link karma is the unit of measure of Redditors' story selection. Oh, so Ghislaine Maxwell's getting awarded, what, for curating the information and news that we're allowed to consume? Oh, that's okay. Oh, okay, that's just normal. It's a hell of an achievement, and everyone at Giz was curious about how Maxwell Hill made it happen. So when I got an email from the mysterious Max, I asked Lucky for us, he answered, or maybe she answered, The amazing thing about the emails we've been trading back and forth is that Maxwell Hill's revealed almost no personal details. Whoopsie. That's actually awesome. The magic of anonymized, and this is Gizmodo. The magic of anonymized internet identity is that Maxwell Hill could be anyone: your drinking buddy, your business partner, your math teacher, your math student, your cab driver, car salesman, senator, or your madam organizing your trafficking enterprise. Using the cloak of internet as a disguise, Maxwell Hill flits in and out of our lives as a superhero when she's a superhero. This absolute dirtbag had so much control, it's disgusting. Only instead of saving a mass of screaming citizens from an out-of-control train, she/he protects our daily lives from boredom with a steady stream of well-selected content from around the net. From what I can tell, though, Maxwell Hill isn't just trying to be mysterious, she's trying to be successful. Maxwell Hill's ascent to power was deliberate and skillful. The million karma points were a goal, not an accident. It's a powerful lesson in the user-driven internet, and it's counterintuitive one as well. Take the person out of the equation and become a platform. What follows is everything that the top Redditor is willing to share about his or her online life, a primer on Reddit's success, and a very interesting story. In his own words, or her own words, who knows? So this is Ghislaine Maxwell giving a spiel. I started almost 6 years ago when Reddit was still run by its co-founders Alexis and Steve. More out of curiosity than anything else, there were a few social websites such as Dig, but most of them were merely news aggregators. As I played around with social news, I realized that content providers were always going to do better than commenters because they only need to provide one good link, a platform, for hundreds to comment. At the time, there were about 10 key Redditors whose links constantly made the front page. I wasn't one of them. In fact, it was really tough just to get my first 100 karma points. It took months. When I finally managed to get a few links on the front page, I followed what they did and posted anything that I felt was interesting, but I avoided politics. That's cap. That's cap. That's not what we saw from the account. Then the top 5 Redditors left to work for Jason Calacanis and AOL paid to provide content. Editor says, these people were called Netscape navigators and along with the top users from Dig, Flickr and Newsvine collected $1,000 a month to scour the web for good stories. Being the least experienced of the top 10, I wasn't selected. I think the experiment failed though because Jason soon left to start his own company. I saw an opportunity in the hole left behind by the top 5, so I decided to focus my energy on becoming #1 on Reddit. I focused on building a reputation for quality links with a style of my own. I avoided pictures, jokes and comics if at all possible. I focused on well-written articles from reputable sources. I would change the title to reflect the gist of the article, but I would never editorialize it. Otherwise, I would appear biased and could alienate a general audience. Sometimes I had to make the title interesting, but I would never distort the story or be misleading. I would not comment on my own submissions either. I stayed strictly a content provider, sticking to the platform approach I had identified early on. It was incredibly time-consuming, especially as I started moderating subreddits. The advent of subreddits was great because they allowed me to hone in on a particular audience, but between digging up links and moderating, I was stretched thin. I just didn't have room to read and comment as much as I would like, hence my dismal comment karma. I had to focus again, so I concentrated my energy on some of the bigger subreddits like QGYH2. That's another user. And I were responsible for taking our world news from the pits to one of the top 5 subreddits and one of the handful with over 1 million subscribers. The last few months, as I was fast approaching 1 million karma points, I decided on a target date at the end of the year and doubled my efforts on submissions, but not on moderating. Having achieved that million a few weeks ahead of schedule, I decided to take a break. These days, I spend about 3-4 hours a day on Reddit. I'm also busy with a potential business venture that's taking up a large part of my time, but I try and squeeze in the odd link when I have time in between aiding Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking enterprise. Okay, what an absolute joke. It is insane. Okay, it is actually insane. Now, Maxwell Hill essentially controlled the front page of Reddit, but hidden among the highly upvoted political posts were some deeply disturbing comments, some of which actually advocated for child exploitation. All right, this next part, I'm going to try and be very sensitive and I'm going to be very careful. So I want to give you a trigger warning before I don't even know if I can show you this. Maybe I'll just show it to you. Maybe I'll just flash it up on the screen very briefly. But this is I want to give you guys a trigger warning. There is a post that basically was posted by Ghislaine Maxwell, and it is essentially an argument for the reason that adult video material that stars young'uns, let's just say, should be legalized. I'm not saying that, but there is an article. All right, there is an article. I want to show you this, but oh man, I want to show you this, but I'm actually scared to even show you that. How can I show you this without showing you this? I'll tell you what. I'm going to zoom in real close to just one part of it, and then we're gonna work it out from there. All right, hang on a minute. All right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to flash it up really quickly and I'm going to take it away and I'm just going to explain to you some of what's there, okay? So this is disgusting, absolutely disgraceful. I'm just going to take it off the screen now, okay? But basically, this is an article that was posted by Ghislaine Maxwell, basically giving 3 strong reasons why this awful illegal material must be re-legalized in the coming decade. And interestingly enough, there is a very long and detailed response, top response on this, from an account called Goatstein. I'm gonna have to look into this Goatstein account because I feel like this could actually have something to do with Jeffrey Epstein. Basically providing a very detailed argument, breaking down points basically, and just giving more backstory about their opinion on this situation. Now, I'm gonna have to move on because that is actually too messed up for this video, okay? And I don't condone it, and I gave you a trigger warning. But what I will show you is a few other interesting things that were posted, all right? A few disturbing deeply disturbing things. And now the next couple of things that I can actually show you, okay? But this is a preserved post from 2020. It said a girl steps in front of a man's car. He grabs her arm and lectures her about traffic safety. Result, he is now a convicted S offender. And then here is Ghislaine Maxwell commenting on her own post. I thought she didn't comment. Oh, I don't really do comments. I just post content. What? You're posting that type of content I just showed you a minute ago? What? This the type of content? Oh, now you want to leave a comment. She said the message is clear here. Leave those kids alone lest you feel the wrath of the law. I feel like we're taking one step forward and two steps back. On one hand, we wish to protect children from the grimy hands of PDFs. And on the other hand, the law, as interpreted by the lowly magistrate judge, informed those with good intent to stay clear of the same children that we wish to nurture into good citizens. Do we really want to head down this path? I will take no lectures on how to treat children from Ghislaine freaking Maxwell. Are you joking? But this is the type of thing that she was posting, all right? And she's getting exposed. Here's another disturbing post, all right? This is a comment that she basically, she quote tweeted part of the post that was put up, that she put on World News. Child refugees are being sexually abused by Italian men after being picked up while sleeping homeless in parks. Charities warn that countless child asylum seekers are being abused and exploited. Ernest Haley, a 16-year-old from Eritrea, had been sleeping on a building site with his friends since they arrived on the island after making the treacherous voyage from Libya. Ermias and friends told Sky News that an Italian man had abused them after buying them drinks and offering them shelter. He finds us in a place like this park, he invites us to a bar, he lets us drink beer, and then he takes us to his home where he then gives us beer. We start drinking and he starts touching on our body. After we leave the house, he calls us and gives us money. So she crossed out smack of PDF, so, and what are the Italian authorities doing about this? And then she replied, edit, I stand corrected, wrong term in the age of consent there is 14. Okay, Ghislaine Maxwell. All right, thank you for the amazing insights. Thought you didn't leave comments, but okay. We stand corrected, Ghislaine Maxwell. It is actually disturbing. Now, despite posting almost every single day, the first suspicious break in the Maxwell Hill account actually occurred in the exact days. This is a crazy conspiracy, but I'm going to tell you. She disappeared in the exact days following the exact days that basically surrounded the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, of all people. And some people have given their theory that they think Jeffrey Epstein might have actually been part of or responsible for the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. This was going around in the Reddit conspiracy theories. But wait, there's more. Breaks in Maxwell Hill's posting history on Reddit lines up with the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. You can't make this shit up, right? Rare post breaks, all right? Gone from May the 2nd to May the 5th. Madeleine McCann disappeared on May the 3rd. Okay. Very, very, very suspicious. Big break. Well, a perfect break in posting there. Doesn't post again until, takes a big break. This is apparently a break in 2007 between April and May. This is when the U.S. Attorney's Office was preparing to present the case to a federal grand jury, and Epstein's attorneys request a meeting to discuss the investigation. So she disappears for a bit, and then she comes back talking about how Reddit is migrating to a different data center, okay? People saying there's also a 4 or 5 day gap around the time Epstein killed himself, all right? Interesting, okay? Very, very interesting. Now, interestingly enough, a lot of people will say, oh, it's just a crazy conspiracy that Epstein had anything to do. Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell would have had anything to do with the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. Well, Madeleine McCann's name did actually come up in a witness tip that was sent to the FBI. So this was sent around. A witness once sent a tip to FBI about a potential sighting of Ghislaine Maxwell and Madeleine McCann. You can't make this shit up. It's crazy. A new document released in the trove of Epstein files references missing British child Madeleine McCann, with a witness alleging they saw her with Ghislaine Maxwell after she was kidnapped. According to a witness statement, someone whose name is redacted reached out to the FBI in 2020, claiming that they were walking home from a shop in 2009 when they spotted a woman who fit Maxwell's description holding hands with a little girl of about 6 that would have been about Madeleine McCann's age 2 years after she vanished from her hotel room in Portugal 2007. There was also a middle-aged man with them, but he was walking much further ahead. When I got up close to the girl, I noticed she looked like Madeleine McCann. The woman was trying to hurry her along and seemed agitated I was there. The witness noted the little girl was covering her right eye the entire time, and Madeleine McCann had a rare condition called coloboma, which made her right pupil distinctive. The witness statement, which was released by the Department of Justice, is not evidence of any wrongdoing, and it's unclear if the people that the witnesses claim to have seen were actually the former partner of late convicted PDF Jeffrey Epstein or the missing girl whose disappearance continues to make headlines after nearly 2 decades. The case has been investigated as a kidnapping, but authorities have never been able to find her, nor determine exactly what happened and who is responsible. Maxwell's currently serving a lengthy prison sentence for trafficking minors for Epstein and others. It is very scary indeed. Now, another sudden gap in Ghislaine Maxwell's posting on Reddit appeared to occur actually perfectly in alignment with the Kleiner Perkins holiday party, basically a highly exclusive gathering for Silicon Valley elites that maybe she may well have attended. Okay, this is basically a big gap in her posts. Here's who was at the super exclusive Kleiner Perkins party last night. She had to take a few days off to get lit, all right? And it says she was at the Kleiner party today, Kleiner party in 2011, but I had no desire to meet her, much less have a photo taken with her. We knew about her supplying underage girls for, but I guess she was fine with cool people who managed the tightly controlled guest list. Now, the account would also go completely silent in the days that followed the passing of Ghislaine Maxwell's mother. Okay, can't have too much sympathy, but basically, Ghislaine Maxwell's mum, she died on August the 7th, 2013, and there was no post between August the 6th and August the 9th. Okay, she took a little time, started talking about the crucifixion and the resurrection, but there was a gap. Okay, there was a gap in time there. Now, interestingly enough, Maxwell Hill would even confirm in an old post that her birthday is in December, specifically after the 21st. Okay, this was posted by Maxwell Hill. I guess I'm doomed. I was born in September. They say, but it says, but winter doesn't officially start until the 21st. I said, doesn't help, dude. It's past that date. Okay, and obviously, in case you needed more evidence, all right, we know it's Ghislaine Maxwell, but this does perfectly track with her actual birthday. Why is this not working? Hang on a minute. I've not carried the L. There you go. I'm going to hand her a fat L. She was actually born on Christmas Day, 1961. Okay. She's looking weathered. All right. No Botox in the pen, unfortunately for her. Now, interestingly enough, okay, the username Maxwell Hill, obviously her name is Ghislaine Maxwell. That's obvious. And the Hill is believed to have actually been a combination of her last name and Headington Hill Hall, her father's famous estate. And, basically Robert Maxwell kind of had different companies, and that Hill name would have actually been used. He led a flamboyant life living in Headington Hill Hall, right? Is a pretty beautiful property. And there basically is a bunch of things that he was involved in as far as his business activities, different newspapers and what's it called? Like textbook companies. He purchased Macmillan. And basically, yeah, I believe did he rename it? Was it Macmillan Hill at some point? But anyway, that's the connection as to why she's called Maxwell Hill. Now, at a certain point in 2020, as internet sleuths started collecting the dots, Reddit moderators would actually rush to Maxwell Hill's defense. People saying, I'm a moderator at r/World News, and I can say without a doubt that Max is not Ghislaine Maxwell. This is the most absurd thing I've ever read. His username is the name of a place in Malaysia. Try Googling before you draw insane conclusions. Or did you just do this for fake internet points? Yes, of course, I'll believe you. Both large subreddit power mods and lawyers in New York have historically been very trustworthy, okay? They were rumbled and people were losing their shit, desperately scrambling to defend her. It says, Maxwell Hill is a Malaysian man. Please stop this nonsense. I mod r/World News with him. Maxwell Hill is literally the name of a place in Malaysia. It's not a reference to his name. Well, that would be good, wouldn't it? That would be good. All right? Everybody worked it out. It said a number 8 in Karma for the day. Her post to World News constituted roughly 30% of the post there. This connection was made after she was arrested and the account stopped posting there after 14 years of consistent posting. Now, interestingly enough, okay, in another post, just to prove, obviously we know it's nonsense, right? But just to put the final nail in the coffin, in another post, the Maxwell Hill account would actually already state that they had only visited Malaysia, okay, And basically, this is a Maxwell Hill comment, still live on Reddit from 7 years ago. It says, right, I believe it's the same in Southeastern Asian countries, especially in the Chinese, in Singapore and Malaysia, where the parents are driven by some innate fear that their children might not make it in education. When I visited those countries several years ago, the school kids are enrolled into private tuition centers after schools for certain subjects. I doubt if any of them have time to play with their friends. It's ultra competitive over there, particularly in Singapore. It says, when I visited those countries, and say when I lived there, don't say I'm a little Malaysian man. All right, this is Ghislaine Maxwell, and she's visited a lot of countries. Now, January of 2020, okay, that's when a user would discover that Reddit had allegedly been coded to make it impossible to block the Maxwell Hill account. You can't block DB Maxwell Hill. You can't block her, all right? She got the back door. She's got the exclusive. She has got control of Reddit. Ghislaine Maxwell, people saying they predicted it a long time ago. This user is the true conspiracy of Reddit, has a swarm of likes following any post and a demon's army to refute any dislikes. Impossible to block completely. This account is the crux of propaganda and BS of all Reddit. Just spreading awareness. This aged well, OP was onto something, and yet nothing happened. All right? Protect Ghislaine Maxwell Hill at all costs. Now, people would keep digging in. On July the 1st, 2020, that's when Maxwell Hill's last post on the account to date would drop, and it would be a link to a Vice article that dropped on the very same day. This post, someone mysteriously sent almost $1 billion in Bitcoin. Interesting. I wonder why. Wonder what interest she would have in Bitcoin moving around. And coincidentally, it would be just one day after this was posted that Ghislaine Maxwell would indeed be arrested for heinous crimes. This is July the 2nd, 2020, and it will be made official. Ghislaine Maxwell, longtime Jeffrey Epstein associate, is arrested for recruiting and abusing girls in a trafficking ring. Okay, she got cooked. It is insane. So just days after the arrest and the increased exposure, that's when Reddit users begun to notice that some of the account's controversial posts were allegedly being deleted by Reddit. Reddit cleaning up for Ghislaine Maxwell. Cheers, Reddit. All right, Ghislaine Maxwell's Reddit account I posted is now being scrubbed of PDF references. I posted investigative research showing Ghislaine Maxwell was a long-time Redditor curating content at r/World News, one of the most widely viewed news sites in the world. Anons were up all night scouring and archiving the account history of Maxwell Hill. There was previous threads on poll on 4chan. It didn't take the Anons long to find this comment, which is a link to a neural brain mapping article published October the 21st, 2016, titled Evidence for Superior Neurobiological and Behavior Inhibitory Control Abilities in Non-Offending as Compared to Offending PDFs. All right, excuse me. An anon would report that Maxwell Hill's comment contained that link was deleted in real time. People saying, holy shit, they're deleting her comments regarding PDFs. People saying, live as we speak, this literally got deleted as I refreshed the page accidentally. It's effing real. Okay. It is actually insane. Okay, so there's a bunch of other stuff. I don't want to get into it. It says, you guys obviously understand how big this news is. I don't think you understand how big of a news this is. If Reddit admins knowingly gave control of Reddit's front page, essentially to Ghislaine Maxwell for the last 10 years, that means 1, they considered Ghislaine Maxwell important for 9 fucking years before Jeffrey Epstein even entered the public consciousness in 2019. 2, Reddit's executives are implicated by PDF Gate. This will probably lead to the shutdown of Reddit itself. And 3, one of the largest left-leaning news sites in the entire world was managing a global PDF ring. Also, someone who is good with wget curl crawl through her comments, please. Okay, folks, there's a lot more digging to do. Please feel free to add any other significant finds in the comments. Her entire account was archived. Whoopsie doodles. Okay. So in July, basically the day after this post, July the 9th, 2020, that's when the alleged cover-up would continue, when Vice magazine actually published an article attempting to debunk the entire conspiracy, just showing how far her influence went and just how embarrassing what was once a pioneering media company, Vice, would eventually become a legacy media establishment cleanup job and just an embarrassing fall from grace. So this says, incoherent conspiracy suggests Ghislaine Maxwell is a powerful Redditor. Incoherent conspiracy, eh? Okay, Vice, tell me how I should think and feel. An incoherent and evidence-free conspiracy theory that Ghislaine Maxwell controlled one of the most powerful Reddit accounts of all time has quickly gone from 4chan and Twitter to spreading like wildfire on Reddit, leading to the harassment of the user who controls the account. Fuck her. Let her get harassed. It's Ghislaine Maxwell. Stamped. Merged. Obviously. The conspiracy theory suggests that Maxwell, who was arrested last week by the FBI on counts of trafficking and enticement of minors related to her relationship with PDF Jeffrey Epstein, has spent the last 14 years amassing a large amount of fake internet points by posting thousands upon thousands of links on Reddit. The evidence shared by conspiracy theorists is that the user in question, Maxwell Hill, has the word Maxwell in their name. Don't forget the Hill. The conspiracy theory's architects claim that gaps in the user's posting history are tied to what they believe to be significant events in Ghislaine Maxwell's life that would apparently have precluded her from posting links to articles about climate change, insects, Bitcoin, and a host of other various global general news. As the account has dutifully done since 2006, they've also glommed into a 2011 Gizmodo article in which Maxwell Hill mentioned they were busy with a potential business venture. The spread of the Maxwell Hill conspiracy shows yet again how quickly anyone's far-fetched and evidenceless theories can whip up thousands of people into a frenzy. Really, Vice? Really? And how random users of social media can be caught in the jumble. Redditors are now endlessly scrolling through thousands of this user's posts, trying to find hidden clues and evidence of wrongdoing, trying to determine who this person really is, and studying the minute details of lives of everyone named Maxwell Hill on Facebook and their supposed whereabouts during apparently notable dates in Ghislaine Maxwell's life. Just ignore your eyes and your ears and everything you're seeing and all the connections that we're making in the birthday and the name and the history. Just shut up and just be a little serf to Vice Media. User Maxwell Hill is one of the most well-known Redditors of all time. They were the first account to surpass 1 million karma on the website, and to this day they're in the top 10 karma earners ever, with nearly 15 million karma points to date. They also help moderate a host of influential communities, including world news, travel, health, environment, and Bad Cop No Donut, which is about police abuse of power. See, it can't be her. Can't be her. Come on. The conspiracy theory, then, is that Maxwell Hill, who is actually in the eyes of these conspiracy theorists, Ghislaine Maxwell, has used their power on the platform to influence the masses, normalize PDFs, and cover up crimes. There is no evidence whatsoever to suggest that any of this is actually the case. What about what I just showed you? Posts about this conspiracy theory have gotten tens of thousands of upvotes on Reddit on a number of different subreddits, most notably r/conspiracy and r/Epstein. Shout out to the latter, my guys. Post titles include Reddit banning all users commenting on Maxwell Hill threads, closing threads of this theory that is now blowing up. This should let you know that there is a basis behind this theory. Reddit has been shaped by a PDF apologist website shaped as a PDF apologist website for a decade. Mossad/CIA infiltration. It all makes sense now. Maxwell Hill, the Reddit account with the eighth most linked karma of all time. Power modder front page subs. First account to reach 1 million karma. Was operated by Ghislaine Maxwell. Almost 12k users here right now. Well done, people. I think you managed to get onto something with the Maxwell Hill situation. I fear for the future of this subreddit, though. We might finally be included in the next purge after this revelation. This has led to an extreme amount of attention and harassment against the actual Maxwell Hill, who has been linked without evidence to a known associate of a convicted PDF who was just arrested by the FBI. Another well-known Redditor described the user to Motherboard as just some guy. Don't believe that evidence, because somebody told Motherboard that it was just some guy. So that's all the advice. You should be ashamed of yourselves. User Maxwell Hill's fellow moderators on the r/World News subreddit have reported the conspiracy theories to Reddit's corporate admins. Reddit has seemingly not taken any specific action to stem the conspiracy theories at this point. Sure? The user Maxwell Hill conspiracy theory is another one of Reddit's unfortunate misinformation brigades. Brian Burlage, who controls the username u/Dick from accounting, which has the 21st most karma of all time. The user is actually just some guy who's been on the site forever and is one of the leading moderators of World News, he explained. In fact, the other World News moderators have filed complaints with the site's admins because Maxwell Hill has been harassed so much and received so many threats in the last few days. It's just one example of how Redditors have their trumped-up outrage focused on a given idea or theory without any factual evidence, and then the site and the internet run away with the speculation. Vice, come on. User Maxwell Hill didn't immediately respond to requests for comments sent through Reddit. A screenshot of a conversation between Maxwell Hill and Hasherin, a fellow World News user moderator, was posted Wednesday. Yeah, I logged on a couple of hours ago and I saw all the shit in my PM, Maxwell Hill said to the conversation. Quite fun, actually, but conspiracy theories are toxic by nature, otherwise they wouldn't attract readers. A Reddit spokesperson did not have a specific comment about the account, but said, at Reddit, our site-wide policies explicitly prohibit any content or behavior that threatens, harasses, or bullies groups of individuals. Communities and users who post and encourage such comments will be actioned. Christian Everdell, Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer, didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. Ghislaine Maxwell got arrested and never posted again. But hey, Vice says this is just an extremist far-right conspiracy theory. We're all just extremists for questioning the control that Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein had over Reddit. Don't be a sexy little extremist, you naughty, dirty little extremist, you. So look, there's a bunch of posts on Reddit that just kind of react to this dangerous conspiracy theory. This is on Age Like to Milk. Comments on Ghislaine Maxwell's account being the first one to reach 1 million karma. And it says, and most of his Comments, sourcing material. Maxwell Hill, a true contributor to actual content on Reddit. Someone replied, indeed, I should also mention that although the title of this was intended for link karma, he was also recently the first person to hit 1 million combined karma. What kind of bullshit is this? Most of his posts are from the most biased sources on the internet, such as Alternet. And he said, for the most part, he posts in politics where it's opinionated and news when it's unbiased. I don't think there's really anything wrong with that since he follows the format given. Not exactly. He pushes alternate articles in other subreddits like True Reddit and R Economics and so forth. I thought she wasn't political on there. Oh, it's all cap. People saying, it does make me wonder if her Reddit account was solely for business and evil empire related, or if she was secretly just a Reddit nerd on the side and was totally bitching on r/Miami Dolphins half the time about how shitty the last draft was. It says, if you read the Epstein stuff out so far, you'll find that many of the super rich and super evil people mentioned are also shockingly normal in other ways. So they think she's just your run-of-the-mill Redditor. You know, it says, if anyone had any doubt, Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested on July the 2nd, 2020. Maxwell Hill's last ever post or comment was on June the 30th, 2020. The account has been inactive ever since the very end. All right. It is crazy. It is crazy. People say you might want to Google this one. So people have posted videos about this, breaking this down, how prolific she was. People are saying that no, she wasn't. The theory is just some weird coincidences and a lot of cherry-picked evidence akin to the Paul is dead theory of the 60s. There's no coincidence it started on 4chan, the ground zero of many fake conspiracy theories. Here's a good article debunking the theory. Let's see the true debunking of this theory, because I'm convinced. Honestly, I'm convinced. I don't think the 4chan origins invalidates the theory. We know Poll was started as a way of controlling narratives for the Epsteins. We know now that it was close to the truth, but warped just enough to make it too crazy for regular people to believe, or deflect accusations onto their enemies, which was the goal. It actually makes perfect sense that they would use Poll to muddy the waters and make people doubt the truth because it was on 4chan. Also, the DM after her arrest is not proof, because we know other Epstein accounts are still active at times, meaning other people had access to these accounts. And if you imagine it, it would make sense that they would perhaps have family or staff running things for them. It's saying your supposedly theory is already debunked by another post. If anyone's interested in reading the original Reddit topics, here's the topic I first saw in the replies and the posts on this sub. Okay, let's see. They banned anybody who participated in the topic. There was a spawn of bans. Some people got 1 day, 3 day permanent bans. Let's dig a little bit deeper. Okay, this is the post. Does this look like a trustworthy news source to you? I don't. To me, it doesn't. George W. Bush was a genius. But let's have a look. Let's have a look. All right. Let's have a little look. That's a crazy image. I might save that for later. Once conspiracy theories were just one-way traffic. David Icke wrote and his audience read. Alex Jones broadcasted and his audience listened. Social media changed it. How long is this article? Are we really? Whoa. Do we have time? Let's dig into it a little bit, because I want to know whether this is cap. Because they're so confident that this is cap. All right. Let's see. All right. A generation of seniors spend their golden years decoding Q drops instead of spending time with their grandkids. Armies of wine mums research the child trafficking epidemic going on in their neighborhood. The participatory Scooby-Doo-like quality, a group of friends collectively solving a mystery, is addicting, and it keeps people hooked instead of reading a David Icke book. Liking people thinking that this is true and the dates add up to reading a David Icke book is actually disrespectful. It says you're writing a David Icke book. You're fed narratives that your research work is so important that you're toppling dark powers from your armchair. Social media lets you make friends with fellow conspiracy theorists. So this is already framing just basically you even believing this is wrong. So let me just skim through this and see if there's actually anything substantial here. There's evidence. So a couple of pieces of evidence it's giving here. It says, I use he because he described himself in 2010 as in the Redditor of the Day profile as a married 40-year-old man. Now the thread that it links to, I can't see any reference to being 40-year-old man. I'm not seeing that. Not seeing mention of a 4, not seeing mention of a 40-year-old man anywhere here. What we've got, the time I posted a link, I'm not seeing evidence of being a 40-year-old man anywhere. I'm not seeing that. There's no screenshot of it. And then obviously another Reddit mod claimed that Maxwell Hill lives in Malaysia, with the name being a reference to a local landmark. Well, we saw them saying that they visited, that they didn't live there. So yeah, it's not. Let's see. So, look, they're really going to tell you to not believe your eyes with this, right? They're basically saying, look, the first thing they're going to debunk is that Ghislaine's last name is Maxwell. It's not believable that Ghislaine Maxwell would commit such an elementary error as using her real name. It's saying, no, she's too smart to use her real name. That's their evidence. Is creating a stealth account under your real name a weak information security practice? The most self-defeating. There's no evidence for it being a different name. And they're saying, people say Hill is a reference to Ghislaine's father, whose birth name is Hock, which is German for hill, but the correct word is Hugel. No reference of the Hill estate that he lived in. No mention of that. Okay. So then it goes on to basically say the gaps in the post history line up with significant events in Maxwell's life. Okay. So their argument against this, when it explains the parties that she went to where she missed the post, people just saying their response is, so 2 events. The Kleiner Perkins party and the death of her mother, but they line up with spooky accuracy. The user has an interesting definition of a big event. Does attending a party count? Ghislaine Maxwell attended dozens of parties. We have a testable hypothesis. Whenever she attends a party, the account goes silent. All right. So they're saying because she attended other parties and didn't take a day off posting on Reddit, that invalidates the idea that she took time off when her mother died. This isn't debunking anything to me. People saying a few biographical details kind of match. When it says kind of match, it's trying to downplay, all right? Maxwell Hill says he was born in December just like Ghislaine Maxwell. This is an amazing coincidence. Very few people are born in December, probably less than 9 or 10 total. This is taking the piss, right? Well, actually, it was more specifically the end of December, after the 21st, right? And we know that, right? So what are they going to give us to actually prove that the latter is true? Basically talks about Ghislaine having an interest in environmentalism. Maxwell Hill was also interested in this. The theory is inconsistent. If she was going undercover, we would expect her to provide a fake birth month. She probably just got too comfortable. All right. It doesn't really make any sense. It says that she posted about US politics from the center left to the right. She's basically on record saying she's Donald Trump's friend, but then it's saying that she posted stuff that was against Trump. That doesn't really prove anything. They were using Reddit as a tool to influence, okay? It's saying we're supposed to ignore this. Ghislaine's interests match Maxwell Hill's. It means something. When they don't match, it means nothing. So this doesn't prove anything. Don't go to a casino if you're persuaded. They're not actually giving any substantial evidence to any other... this is clearly not a reliable website, but the debunking to me is nonsense. The debunking to me is giving far less evidence than the theory for it. When Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested, Maxwell Hill stopped posted. Okay, well, let's go. Prove me wrong, all right? This is the big one. The entire reason the theory exists. On the 28th of June 2020, she posts publicly for the last time. Ironically, he's promoting a conspiracy theory himself. On the 2nd of July, police raided her New Hampshire estate, placed her under arrest, and she's never heard from again after posting dozens of times a week for over 15 years. He's gone. No goodbye post. No, I've gotten bored of Reddit and I'm taking a break. Just silence. If this was true, it would be the strongest piece of evidence so far, but it's not. Maxwell did post after the 2nd of July, just not in public. He continued to perform moderator duties, interacting with staff members and answer private messages. Here is an alleged conversation between a user and Maxwell Hill that happened on the 9th. I think you need a heads up on this. Yeah, logged on a couple hours ago, saw all this shit in my PM. Quite funny, actually, but conspiracy theories are by nature toxic. I'm too busy with these new contracts to break and bother with all this nonsense. Would you object to me sharing this reply publicly to prove that you're not currently in prison for being an Epstein accomplice? 2020 is really coming out with some of the weirdest things. And then after this, she just never posted again. Never posted again. It's a load of nonsense. Could have easily continued posting. I don't know if I believe... honestly, I get it. Like, yeah, this is evidence they replied. I mean, is there some proof? They're saying, here's evidence that they made a post inside a private subreddit 9 days after the treason one. I mean, I don't know. Could it be a scheduled post? Could someone else have had control of the account? People say, I don't know. I mean, this is the most convincing thing for the contrary that I've seen, but also this isn't enough to completely disprove all of the other stuff. This says, this seems to be pretty bad for the theory. Ghislaine Maxwell in jail awaiting charges. Maxwell Hill's casually swapping PMs with Reddit moderators and spitballing around policy ideas. What? And then they just disappeared after that forever. Forever. I don't know. I don't know if I believe that. Personally, that's just my opinion. Maybe she has odd priorities. This is how she spends them. Imagine a scene from the biopic. It's really painting an interesting picture and really putting down any ideas, right? I'm sure user Hasharin regrets sharing these messages based on how his Twitter replies are full of people accusing him of faking them and being part of the Ghislaine Reddit PDF ring. No good deed goes unpunished. I've heard it argued that maybe Maxwell delegated the account to an assistant. The defense destroys the original argument. If Maxwell Hill was not controlled by Ghislaine Maxwell, what does her disappearance prove? Well, someone else could have had control of the account to try and put off the heat, and then maybe that they stopped working for Ghislaine Maxwell after her party. The party was finally over. All right. Why didn't this supposed assistant keep posting on it in perpetuity? The account just disappeared. All right. It says none of it adds up unless you consider the most boring and obvious answer. Then all of it adds up. So where did Maxwell Hill go? Don't know. No theories. It's possible thousands of PMs from insane people calling him a PDF have soured him on Reddit. You built up a 1 million karma account over your entire life, and they hurt your feelings with some of these DMs. Are you serious? Says there's no point in him posting publicly again. I'm going to take my ball and go home. You guys don't deserve my posts on Reddit. Anything he says now will be slammed with downvotes because half the internet is convinced he's secretly Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend and will likely remain convinced regardless of the evidence. I've not seen much evidence. The conspiracy theories like their toy. They've invested a lot of time in it and they don't want it taken away. Now, this is cap, right? Maxwell Hill promotes and wants to lower the age of consent. I shouldn't have said that, but anyway. No, this is a lie, then another lie. The venality of the internet. Hang on a sec. It says, the venality of the internet still surprises me. Maxwell Hill was a news junkie who posted thousands of stories. It's inevitable that some of those would have involved young and abuse. To quote one or two out of context and claim they mean he approves of it isn't even dishonest in a clever way. It's just embarrassing. They posted... Look. It's just like, you're bending over backwards to protect this person you don't even know. They post articles about why we should legalize child exploitation stuff. It says, this isn't a world news submission about a noteworthy figure who made a controversial statement. There's no indication that Maxwell Hill agrees with or approves it. They're just pushing that news out for the world, for people to enjoy, right? There was gripes over overzealous child protection laws. I've showed you that earlier. And saying nice well poisoning by calling it griping as if it's unreasonable not to want innocent people accused of crimes. I hope people continue to gripe about this. It's crazy, okay? They're basically saying that the message condemned PDF files, discussing the age of doing stuff in various countries, using wording as a strategic Spassky chess move. The user doesn't quote what Maxwell Hill said about the age, that he was discussing it. He knows that you'll imagine the worst. He knows that you won't click the link, all right? The first link is a selectively screen-capped thread that removes the first reply, where he expresses the shock that the age is so low in certain states. 13, the mind boggles. In the second link, he hopes that Italian police will prosecute someone for these crimes. And in neither link does the account endorse the crimes. In fact, they're doing the opposite. So just on the one hand, they want us to believe, oh, they should have been such a master manipulator to not use their own name. But then in the same breath, they're not willing to accept that you wouldn't be out here saying Epstein's lit, he's a legend, like all the things he's doing are great, defending all of these things. I've not seen enough debunking, quite frankly, right? I've not seen enough debunking. Irresponsible speculation now. Although the allegations of abuse have been directed at Ghislaine, I don't believe she was a PDF. I've heard otherwise. She seems to be a completely amoral individual who went along with her boyfriend's wishes to gain access to his money and network. The details didn't matter. So this is a Ghislaine apology article. All right, this is Ghislaine apology article. This is one of the most brazen whitewashings of history I've ever seen. The details didn't matter. If Epstein's kit could involve sewing cute little bobble hats for pugs, she would have helped him do that instead. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is insane. There is manic, irrational tones to the way people talk about abuse online. Something about the topic incinerates people's brains. Basically, they're saying, I'm 95% sure that it's not her. If she is, large number of peoples of the world R News mod team, for a start, are lying and forging evidence in the most incompetent way possible. It would also require her to be insanely cautious and stupid at the same time. I think that is the case. She did get caught. She did get arrested like a dummy. All right. All of this is necessary to merely overturn the negative evidence, bringing us back to square one. A positive case still hasn't been built. We don't have much for a reason to think that she controlled this particular Reddit account. In my opinion, I've seen enough to have a feeling that that could be true. Naively, the chance of someone excelling in two different fields, being a high-profile socialite and having the eighth highest link karma on Reddit, seems small, particularly when there's no way to parlay success in one of the other. It'd be like the world's fastest touch typist was a world champion swimmer. They're saying that she can't be a world-class PDF enabler and a Redditor at the same time. Here are 4 things she's written about ocean conservation. It's not enough, all right? They're basically saying that the writing doesn't add up. They use different dashes. Maxwell uses a different dash sign. This doesn't prove anything. She could have written articles on one device, on Reddit posts on another, or the articles could have been ghostwritten. I think there was probably other people involved in this because I just don't think you can farm that much karma and be out here just living a normal life regardless of whether or not you're enabling one of the biggest PDFs in history. This is, here's the boring truth. Maxwell goes away on a holiday. He returns to find 6,000 PM screech. How do you know he went on a holiday? How do you know? Calling him every name under the sun. He's already very busy. I thought you couldn't do 2 things at once. I thought he was fully committed to Reddit karma. But he's already very busy, and this is the final straw, killing his desire to contribute to Reddit. There's no way to win, no way to prove he's innocent. Yeah, there is. It's very easy to prove you're innocent. Just pop out. Like, pop out. There's no way to prove it. Yes, there is. Keep posting. There's literally unlimited ways. You could keep posting to the account openly. You could deny being Ghislaine Maxwell publicly, which you didn't do. You could post a bunch of other random stuff. You could post a picture of yourself holding today's newspaper from the account. You could post something anti-Ghislaine Maxwell to just prove that there's no allegiances to Ghislaine Maxwell. Didn't happen. There's no way. There's no way. I'm so suspect of this article that it is actually disturbing me. There's no way to win and prove he's innocent. Anything he says will be spun and misrepresented as still more proof of conspiracy. So he does a little more moderation work behind the scenes, ties up loose ends, and then flushes this Reddit crap shake for good. A wise decision. If only we were all that strong. Who wrote this? Who wrote this? I don't trust whoever wrote this. I don't trust this website, to be honest with you. I'm curious, though. I'm curious. Who is this? Who is this? SEO-friendly author bio. Ben Sheffield is a writer from Australia. He goes by Coagulapath on Gaia Online. Okay. He feels the internet attained perfection in 2004. Ben is either a cis man or an F2M trans person, so impossibly marginalized that his gender circumstances circumnavigated the entire rainbow and returned precisely back to where it started. He might be twice as trans as you. Keep this in mind before you question his commitment to the struggle. Do you think this is a real image? Ben Sheffield. Could be. It could be. It could be. I'd like to hear from him. This is just deranged. This is deranged. I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure I'm buying this. What other essays they got? This is just bizarre. This is just so bizarre. Are these long dashes ChatGPT bait potentially? I don't know. This is actually insane. I'm disturbed by this. Okay, so look, basically this is her getting Redditor of the day. All right, trying to answer everyone's questions, talking about getting karma. The claim of power users is misleading because of you get the gist. Okay. I personally think it's her. That's just my opinion, okay? Apparently she used the hard R once on Reddit. All right. They're saying that she did. She found 1 N-words, one of which were hard Rs. It's unconfirmed, okay? People are saying that it's not her. People are saying it's debunked. People are saying that article debunked it. I don't think that article debunked it, personally. But look, you guys make up your own mind, all right? I've given you both sides of the story. I've given you the very flimsy debunking article. If you believe that, I could be wrong. I could accept that this isn't her. But Maxwell Hill, I don't know. It's a little bit like, and the birthday lines up. I don't think she was out there kidnapping Madeleine McCann, taking a day off of Reddit. That is definitely absurd. But stranger things have happened in the world. This one was so weird, man. This one was so weird. Let me know what you guys think below. I really don't know what to think at this stage. I got a feeling that it could be her, but maybe it's not her, right? So let's. If anyone finds any more substantial evidence beyond this, let me know. But for now, I'm going to wrap it up. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. I've got another Ghislaine Maxwell story, actually, that I'm going to be covering. I'll probably save that for tomorrow. I'm going to go and work on some main channel stuff the rest of the afternoon. But thanks so much for watching, man. I will catch you guys in the next video. Appreciate the support as always. And for now, I'm out here going. Peace.